totality of the situation, which one was it? Garnbach, he had the thing in Independence. And he was
Loeman.
Loeman, yeah. Now, do you equate that into the totality of the situation?
No, no, absolutely not. And this is why. With that, I'll find this in a minute. I want to answer this. In reviewing, and many people have looked at this thing. Tim Loeman was hired by the Independence Police Department. For whatever reason, he wasn't fitting in with the smaller suburb, according to them. He wanted to be a police officer in the big cities. He had already taken our tests. He had taken several other tests. That's normal. People like to run with that and go, "Well, he took all these tests." I took 5 tests. It's a very competitive field. When people wanted to do it, when I took the test, 5,000 people took the test. So he was in Independence. He was engaged to be married, woman of 3 years. He was at the I shouldn't say that, but he was at the firing range as part of his training.
I think they say he had emotional issues or something like
that.
No,
he got emotional. There's a big difference between emotional and emotional issues. He got emotional because he was at the firing range and his girlfriend, fiance, engaged to be married of 3 years, sent him a text message, a Dear John text message. Life got in the way of his training in that particular moment. There's nothing emotionally, he's not emotionally disturbed. That's the woman that you love that you're going to marry breaking up with you via text message when you're someplace. So he did get emotional at that range. And, he moved on with that. He came and he processed through Cleveland. He was in the top 10% of his class in every single category, top 10% of his class. His father's a retired police officer from New York City. Just a solid kid. So that's part of the false narrative that people want to believe, is that the city of Cleveland is hiring these emotional wrecks and they're just out there, doing whatever it is that they're doing. And that's not the fact, and there is stacks and stacks of paperwork that the prosecutor reviewed, that the BCI reviewed, that the feds reviewed, everybody. And they all came to the same conclusion. He passed. Our police academy, by the way, is one of the best. It's been number 1 or 2 for 12 years straight in the state of Ohio. So it's very difficult to get through that police academy, especially if you have some type of issue that gets identified very quickly and it gets dealt with very quickly. We have 50 people down in the that went down the academy in the for the Ohio State Police, which you and I need to talk about that one day too. And already 7 of them have failed out of it for this reason, that reason. It's usually about a 20% attrition rate from folks that go to folks that don't.
What is your opinion on the feds coming to investigate the police department? Do you agree with that? Do you think...
They've always been here. See, that's another, ill-conceived notion. They have investigated, as long as Chief McGrath has been here, and as long as I've been the union president, the Department of Justice, the FBI, has been asked to review every single police-involved shooting in the city of Cleveland, without question.
Yeah, but they're stating the police use excessive force.
There's 26 cities right now that are involved in a consent decree in some way, shape, or form, including the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay. We won't count them. Okay. Right? But if you look at these consent decrees, it is boilerplate verbiage in most, throughout most of the consent decrees. I went back and forth with Steve Dettelbach, the U.S. attorney that started this whole thing. I said, Steve, how do you one of the cases that they referred to, they pulled 600 cases randomly, supposedly, out of 1.2 million cases that were available in that time frame. If you gave me an opportunity to pull 600 cases out of 1.2 million, I would have had us looking like Mayberry, right? Makes sense? I don't want to hear about the randomness of it. And then their conclusions. These are conclusions. Now it really entertains me, the thought that, some of these activist groups that are so anti-government for some reason now just love everything that comes out of the Department of Justice mouth, and embrace them. Here we go. Steve Dettelbach held against us this one particular case, and I'll tell you, it was probably just about every single one of these cases, can be explained. But you have 35-year-old attorneys doing this review. You don't have anybody with any law enforcement experience doing it.
And we can get back to this before I forget. Why do you think there's such a disparity between unarmed blacks being shot and killed and unarmed whites being shot and killed? And although whites outnumber blacks.
I don't think that that's factual.
You sure?
I don't think that that's factual. Yeah.
Okay.
I would be happy to debate that with you, because there's studies out there. Have you seen the Harvard study that shows that the reaction time for police involved shootings is quicker? They'll more quickly shoot a white man than a black man. Have you seen that study? Yeah,
but see, when you look at these studies, you have to carefully look at unarmed versus armed, because a lot of people, they'll say, well, he's... And then a lot of people say, well, the police shoot more whites than blacks, which might be true, but you have to look at it deeper. Are they unarmed or armed? That is what needs to be looked at, in my opinion.
And we have to, and then if we're going to do that, then we need to define what exactly armed and unarmed is.
At the very least, a gun.
Well,
we have to start somewhere.
You can't start. No, you can't. Listen, if deadly force is being used against a police officer or a citizen, and that deadly force could be somebody your size just sitting on top of a 100-pound guy going like this to his head, right? I mean, you're going to kill that guy eventually, So to say, because then we get into the toy guns. He wasn't armed because he had a toy gun.
Well, no, I'm not. Let's talk about Eric Garner, unarmed. The guy on the freeway, most recently, he was unarmed. The guy Philando Castile, he said he told them he had a weapon.
Yeah, and then he fought with them.
I didn't.
Right? You watch and see what happens with that. I've talked to the police union president involved in that. And what was the guy? Was that Baton Rouge?
No, that's
what's that dude's name?
Alton Sterling.
Now, why doesn't anybody want to talk about that one?
Well, hold on. Let me go down the list.
Go down the list.
You have the guy that had his hands up that was getting his car fixed. You have the guy in Milwaukee.
He had his hands up.
Well, I'm saying he was unarmed. You can't say... And he was asking for help. Everybody... he called the police for help.
No, he did not. That's a false narrative.
So what happened?
Who knows what happened? Oh. She drives down the road. Mm-hmm. She's going to another call, right? Mm-hmm. Sees him on the side of the road. He's looking for something on the side of the road. She goes farther down the road because it's a domestic call. So she keeps going. She sees him, but just keeps going. Female one-person car. She comes around the corner, and his truck is sitting in the middle of the road. Not off to the side like he was having car problems like some of the false narrative is. It's sitting in the middle of the road, and it's running. She stops. Now it's a traffic hazard. She stops behind it, gets somebody else to go to the call. He didn't call them for help.
I know what it is, Mr. Loomis.
What?
I know what it is.
What? Tell me.
The fear that the media that you feel is propagating this fear of the police, and that you feel the people are believing it, and the people are believing the negative stereotypes.
They're believing false narratives.
Absolutely. The what you claim are the false narratives.
What I can prove are the false narratives. It's a difference between claiming and proving.
Well, I'm just saying you're saying that it's a false narrative.
I want to find this picture
just for the sake of the conversation.
Yeah.
The same negative portrayal that you feel the police are being viewed upon as falsely and negative. I feel is the same narrative that the officers feel about minorities. I don't know how to help you with that. Yeah, I think there has to be, if people, like we were talking about the consent decree earlier, if people are going to come together, if the police are going to come into the community, if you want us to understand the media's false negative portrayal about the police.
Well, it's not just the media. The media gets it somewhere.
If you want us to understand that, I think at some token, the police has to understand the negative portrayal and false images and stereotypes of the minorities and the black community. Would you agree?
Would I agree? Yeah, there's absolutely stereotypes on both sides of that equation.
I think if we eliminate I think that should be the first step.
You're not going to be able to. No, I don't think so. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because that's something that's learned. That's something, I had police officers send me a video. They pulled up next to a City of Cleveland school bus. There was a bunch of, they described them as ankle biters. Young kids on there, mostly minority kids.
Is it ankle biters?
Ankle biters, little guys.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Little guys. Now, nothing offensive.
Okay. I don't know if that was jail talk or...
No. Just little guys.
Okay.
Preschool or elementary school guys, right? And it's in the summertime. It's just this past fall, actually. And they get the windows down in a police car, and these kids are yelling out the window, "Fuck the police." These are first, second, third
graders. We did that
graders.
on the school bus too, and I mean,
but who? Nobody taught. Somebody taught you how to do that. These kids. The best thing in the world, to me, is to go to a park in a mixed neighborhood, and there's a bunch of them out there, even in old Brooklyn. And there's white kids, black kids, Hispanic kids, and they're playing together, and like it's nothing. They're best friends. Playing together like they don't know anything about color of skin or anything else until one of us, you or me or their parents or some grown up with some chip on their shoulder, and that could be us too. I'm not saying it's not, but until we poison those kids are great. Those kids should be running the world because it's our stereotypes and it's our history and it's our problems.
You don't think that there's some kind of truth to a stereotype?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. You don't know me. You think that I'm a racist because I'm a white cop? Well, some people have. Maybe not.
I never said. We've been talking about an hour. I never said.
I'm just saying. The plain dealer will say it. People at these community groups will say it. Why? Because I'm a white police officer. I worked in 4th District my whole career. I get Christmas cards from black families that I helped throughout my career. You're not going to paint me with that brush. It is impossible to paint me with that brush. I will keep everything as real as real can be. And that's when we get into problems, is when we start talking about perceptions and
so where do you think the police have to come in to some kind of understanding? Because we know the policing is a dangerous job.
Very
life
dangerous.
Is on the line. The police are underpaid. They're not respected to a certain extent. We can understand good cops or cops that have a good heart or that are speaking out against bad cops. Let me say that. Cops that are speaking out against cops that aren't doing their job. Yeah. We know that they exist, and they might feel that a generalization of bad policing put on them is, unwarranted or different things like that.
Yeah.
I think the majority, people kind of understand that. The media does play a role in it. I'm not disagreeing with that, but where do you think the police can meet communities halfway and understanding, okay, every black person sagging is not, it's not because he has a gun, or if he's in a dangerous area.
I agree with that.
He's not a gang member, or if there's more than 3 or 4 black people walking down the street, they're not in the gang. You know what I mean? Like where can we kind of dispel the stereotype that you have? Not you, but I'm saying the
I'll
black
tell you.
community.
I will tell you this.